The rain fell hard on the small wooden cabin by the sea. Olivia Munro sat by her window watching the storm. She had moved to this quiet place in Maine 3 years ago. The lonely beach and the endless ocean were her only friends now. She liked it that way. Olivia was writing notes about her latest study of ocean life when a bright light cut through the stormy sky. It wasn't lightning, it was something else, something on fire and falling fast. She stood up quickly, knocking over her cup of tea. The burning object crashed into the forest about a mile from her cabin with a boom that shook the walls. What in the world? Olivia whispered to herself. She grabbed her raincoat, boots, and flashlight. Something told her she needed to see what had fallen from the sky. The wind fought against her as she walked through the trees, mud splashing up her legs. Her flashlight beam bounced through the darkness until she saw broken trees and disturbed earth ahead. In a small clearing, she found it, a metal pod about the size of a small car. It wasn't from Earth. Olivia knew enough about space research to recognize that this was something else entirely. The metal had strange patterns that seemed to move when she looked at them. A soft blue light came from inside through a cracked section. "Hello?" Olivia called out, not really expecting an answer. The side of the pod slid open with a hiss. Smoke poured out and Olivia covered her mouth with her sleeve. When she looked inside, she gasped. A tall figure lay on the floor, clearly hurt. Its skin shimmered like mother of pearl, changing colors slightly as it breathed. Large, almond-shaped, eyes looked at her with pain and recognition. "Oh my God," Olivia whispered. She had found an alien. But the tall being wasn't alone. Behind it, pressed against the far wall of the pod, was a smaller figure. A child, Olivia realized. An alien child with the same shimmering skin, looking at her with wide, frightened eyes. The adult alien reached out a 7-fingered hand toward Olivia. When it spoke, the sound was like water flowing over stones, impossible for a human to copy. A small device near the alien's head made sounds in response. "Keep safe." The device translated in a flat, electronic voice. "Child. Last of. They hunt. 2 worlds." Olivia knelt beside the alien. "Who's hunting? What do you mean?" But the alien's eyes were closing. With its last strength, it pushed the child toward Olivia. The small alien resisted, making soft whistling sounds that might have been crying. "I don't understand," Olivia said. "Please, let me help you both." The adult alien touched a panel on the wall. The pod's lights changed from blue to red. The translation device spoke again. "Self-destruct, now 4 minutes, take child, run." Olivia understood then. The adult alien was dying and wanted to make sure whatever was hunting them wouldn't find the pod. She had to make a choice right now. "Come with me," she said to the child, holding out her hand. "Please." The small alien looked at the adult one. Last time. Something passed between them. Some communication Olivia couldn't understand. Then the child took a small crystal device from the adult's hand and moved toward Olivia. "I'm sorry," Olivia said to the dying alien. "I'll protect the child, I promise." She thought she saw gratitude in those strange eyes before she took the child's hand and ran from the pod. They made it to the edge of the clearing when Olivia heard sirens in the distance. Someone else had seen the crash and called for help. "We can't let them find you," she told the child, who seemed to understand the need for quiet and speed. They hid behind a large tree as police cars and fire trucks arrived at the road near the forest. Just as the first responders entered the woods, a flash of light and a boom came from the crash site. The pod had self-destructed, leaving nothing but a small crater. "What was that?" one of the officers called out. "Probably just a meteor," another answered. "It happens sometimes." Olivia waited until they were searching the crater before leading the alien child back to her cabin through the rain. Once inside, she locked the door and closed all the curtains. The child stood in the middle of her living room, dripping water onto the floor, looking lost and afraid. "It's okay," Olivia said softly. "You're safe here." The alien child was small, about the size of a human 5-year-old. Its skin changed, colors slightly as it breathed, blues and purples and greens like an oil slick on water. Its eyes were huge and completely black, but somehow full of feeling. Olivia found a soft blanket and gently wrapped it around the child. "My name is Olivia," she said, pointing to herself. "What's your name?" The child made a sound like wind chimes. Olivia knew she could never say that name. "I need to call you something," she said. She noticed the child looking up at a star chart on her wall, staring at one particular constellation. "How about Lyra? Do you like that name?" The child blinked slowly, which Olivia took as agreement. "Lyra it is then." She smiled. "I don't know what's happening or why you're here, but I'm going to help you." As Lyra sat wrapped in the blanket, Olivia made hot chocolate. She had no idea if the alien could drink it, but it seemed like the right thing to offer someone who had just lost everything. That night, as the storm continued to rage outside, Olivia lay awake wondering what she had gotten herself into. An alien child was sleeping on her couch. Someone or something had killed Lyra's people and was hunting her. And now Olivia was all that stood between this child and whatever danger was coming. "What am I doing?" she whispered to herself in the darkness. But deep down she knew she had made the only choice she could. Tomorrow she would figure out what to do next. For tonight, at least, they were both safe. The first week with Lyra was the hardest. Olivia had no idea what the alien child could eat. She tried fruits, vegetables, and simple foods. Lyra only showed interest in water and, strangely, honey. The child would dip her fingers into the golden liquid and then press them to her skin, where the honey seemed to disappear. Olivia guessed that Lyra might absorb nutrients through her skin. Sleep was another problem. Lyra didn't seem to need much of it. Instead, she would stand by the window, for hours looking at the stars with an expression that made Olivia's heart ache. Was she looking for home? For others of her kind? Communication was nearly impossible. Lyra made beautiful whistling sounds but couldn't speak English. She seemed to understand simple words and gestures, but Olivia had no way to ask the important questions. Who are you? Why are you here? Who is hunting you? By the second week, Olivia knew she needed help. She called the only person she thought she could trust, her old friend Dr. Catherine Wells. Catherine arrived on a sunny afternoon, parking her old truck far from the road so no one would see it. When she entered the cabin and saw Lyra, she froze. "My God," Catherine whispered. "You weren't joking." "Would I joke about finding an alien child?" Olivia asked. Catherine slowly approached Lyra, who was sitting cross-legged on the floor. The alien child watched her with those big dark eyes. "I was an exobiologist for NASA," Catherine explained, "until I found what I thought was evidence of microbial life in a Mars sample. They said I was wrong, they ruined my career." She knelt down in front of Lyra. "But I wasn't wrong, was I? Life exists out there, and here you are." Lyra reached out and touched Catherine's face with one small, shimmering hand. Catherine gasped. "What's happening?" Olivia asked, worried. I can feel something in my mind," Catherine said. "Images. Feelings." When Lyra pulled her hand away, Catherine sat back, looking stunned. "She's telepathic," Catherine said. "Not fully. She can't speak to us that way. But she can share impressions, feelings, memories." She looked at Olivia with wide eyes. "And what I just saw was terrible. Her world, burning. Ships like nothing I've ever seen. People like her dying." Olivia sat down heavily. "So she is a refugee?" "Yes," Catherine nodded. "But there's more. She showed me that crystal thing she brought with her." Lyra went to where Olivia had hidden the crystal device under a floorboard. She brought it out and held it up. In the sunlight, it seemed to contain galaxies. "It's important," Catherine said. "Very important. I think it's both a data storage device and some kind of beacon or key." "A beacon?" Olivia frowned. "That doesn't sound good if someone's hunting her." "I don't think it's active yet," Catherine said. "But she needs to keep it safe." Over the next few weeks, Catherine visited often. bringing equipment to study Lyra and the crystal. She discovered that Lyra's biology was unlike anything on Earth. Her blood was silvery, her cells could produce light, and her brain activity was off the charts on Catherine's portable scanner. Lyra began to trust them both. She would sit with Olivia for hours as Olivia read books aloud, seeming to soak up the language. One day, to Olivia's surprise, Lyra pointed at a cup and made a sound that was almost water. "Yes," Olivia said, excited. "Water, you're learning to speak." But more surprising than Lyra's progress with language were the strange things that began to happen around her. One morning, Olivia found her houseplants, which had been dying, suddenly healthy and blooming. She later caught Lyra touching them, her fingertips glowing softly. Another day, Lyra sat by a bowl of water and, with intense concentration, made the water rise up and form shapes in the air. When she saw Olivia watching, she let the water splash back into the bowl. "You can control water?" Olivia asked, amazed. Lyra made a so-so gesture with her hand that she had learned from Olivia. Catherine was fascinated by these abilities. Her species must have evolved with some control over matter and energy at the molecular level, she theorized. "I wonder what else she can do," they found out one evening when the power went out during a storm. Lyra had been watching a nature documentary about oceans. She loved anything about water, and became upset when the TV shut off. Suddenly, all the lights in the house came back on, even though the power was still out in the area. "She's powering the house," Catherine said, in awe, looking at her instruments. "She's somehow generating an electromagnetic field." The most concerning incident happened about 5 months after Lyra's arrival. Olivia woke in the middle of the night to find Lyra gone from her bed. Panicking, she searched the house before spotting the open back door. Outside in the moonlight, Lyra was walking slowly toward the ocean. Her eyes were open but unseeing. She was sleepwalking, whispering a strange word over and over. "Luminar." Olivia caught up to her at the water's edge. "Lyra, wake up. You're dreaming." Lyra's eyes cleared, and she looked confused to find herself outside. She pointed at the sky, then at the ocean, and said in her limited English, "Home. Call. Soon." "What? Do you mean, call?" Olivia asked. "Are others of your kind coming?" But Lyra wouldn't or couldn't explain further. The next day, Catherine arrived with troubling news. "There have been reports of electronic disturbances all along the coast. Compasses not working right. Radio signals getting scrambled." "Like what?" "Happens when Lyra gets emotional," Olivia said. "Yes, but on a much bigger scale." Catherine looked worried. "And there's something else. My friend at the observatory said they detected something large entering Earth's atmosphere 3 nights ago. But it vanished from their instruments. Like it cloaked itself." Olivia felt cold fear settle in her stomach. "You think whoever is hunting Lyra has found Earth?" Catherine nodded. "We need to understand what that crystal is and why Lyra is so important, and we need to do it fast." That evening, as Catherine worked with her equipment, trying to analyze the crystal without activating it, Lyra suddenly stiffened. She ran to Olivia and grabbed her hand, pulling her toward the back of the house. "What's wrong?" Olivia asked. "Come," Lyra said, one of the few words she knew. "Bad. Come." Catherine looked up from her work. "What's going on?" Before Olivia could answer, they heard it, the sound of a helicopter approaching, flying low. Through the window, they saw bright searchlights sweeping the trees around the cabin. "They found us," Olivia whispered. "But who are they? Government? Military? Or whoever killed Lyra's people?" Catherine finished grimly. The lights were getting closer. They had maybe minutes before the helicopter would be directly overhead. "We need to run," Olivia said, grabbing a backpack she had prepared for just this possibility. "Now!" As they headed for the door, the lights in the cabin began to flicker. Lyra stood in the center of the room, her skin glowing brighter than Olivia had ever seen it. The crystal in Catherine's hand started to pulse with the same light. "Something's happening," Catherine said, her voice rising with fear and excitement. "The crystal is activating." Lyra raised her hands, and around her, A dome of shimmering energy began to form. It expanded outward, passing harmlessly through Olivia and Catherine. But when it reached the walls of the cabin, it kept going, growing larger and larger. Outside, the helicopter suddenly swerved, as if hit by a strong wind. Its searchlight went dark, and they heard the engine sputter. "She's protecting us," Olivia realized. "But we still need to go before they land and come on foot." They ran out the back door, Lyra between them holding their hands. Behind them, the helicopter had regained some control but was circling erratically, its electronics clearly affected by whatever Lyra had done. As they disappeared into the forest, Olivia looked back at her cabin one last time. For 5 months, it had been a sanctuary for a child from the stars. Now they were running again into an uncertain future, with danger close behind. They drove through the night in Catherine's old truck. Olivia sat in the back with Lyra, who stared out the window at the passing trees with wide, worried eyes. The crystal was wrapped in a cloth in Olivia's pocket, pulsing with a faint light. Every few minutes. "Where are we going?" Olivia asked Catherine. "My research cabin in the mountains," Catherine replied, checking the rearview mirror for the 10th time. "It's isolated, off the grid. I've got equipment there that might help us understand what's happening." Lyra suddenly pressed her hand against the window, making a soft whistling sound. In the sky above, a shooting star streaked across the darkness. "No," Lyra said in her limited English. "Not star. Ship." Olivia and Catherine exchanged worried looks. "How many ships?" Catherine asked slowly, emphasizing each word. Lyra held up one finger, then made a circular motion with her hand and held up many fingers. "One big ship," Olivia translated. "With many smaller ones?" Lyra nodded. "And they're here for you?" Catherine asked. Lyra touched the pocket where Olivia kept the crystal, then pointed to herself. "Both," she said. They reached Catherine's cabin as dawn broke over the mountains. It was smaller than Olivia's place but filled with scientific equipment. Solar panels on the roof powered computers and strange devices Olivia had never seen before. "This is where I've been working since NASA let me go," Catherine explained as she secured the doors and windows. "Continuing my research privately, she set up a containment field for the crystal, a clear box surrounded by sensors. Olivia placed the crystal inside, and Catherine sealed it. If it's a beacon, this might hide its signal," she explained, "and it will let us study it safely." While Catherine worked, Olivia tried to help Lyra feel at home. The alien child seemed fascinated by the mountains, so different from the coastal landscape she had known since arriving on Earth. As the day passed, Catherine made a discovery. "This crystal contains data," she announced. "Massive amounts of it, and part of it seems to be star maps." She showed them on her computer screen. Complex patterns of light that formed constellations and planetary systems. "This section here," Catherine pointed, "shows a star system about 40 light-years from Earth. And according to this data, there's a planet there that could support life." "Lyra's home?" Olivia asked. Lyra shook her head. "Not home," she said. Her voice was getting clearer with practice. "Safe place for my kind." "A refuge," Catherine suggested. Lyra nodded. "But why come to Earth?" Olivia wondered. "We're so far from there." Before Lyra could try to answer, one of Catherine's computers started beeping. Catherine rushed over to check it. "Something just entered Earth's atmosphere," she said, her voice tight with worry. "Something big." Lyra's skin began to pulse with light. She went to the window and looked up at the sky with fear in her eyes. "They found me," she said. Her clearest sentence yet. Catherine's equipment detected more objects entering the atmosphere over the next few hours. News reports started coming about unusual weather patterns and electronic disturbances worldwide. Official explanations blamed solar flares, but Catherine knew better. "They're searching," she said, "and they're not trying to be subtle anymore." That night, as Olivia helped Lyra get ready for bed, the alien child placed her hands on either side of Olivia's face. The touch was gentle, but sent a tingle through Olivia's mind. Suddenly, Olivia was seeing images, a beautiful world with crystal cities and oceans that glowed at night. People like Lyra, tall and graceful with shimmering skin. Then darkness coming from the sky. Black ships shaped like jagged stars. The crystal cities falling. The oceans burning. Lyra's people fleeing. To ships of their own, but most being destroyed before they could escape. A final stand on a moon of glittering ice. A last desperate plan. Sending the children away with the crystals. Scattering them across the galaxy. And through it all, the enemy. Beings in angular armor, their faces hidden behind masks shaped like skulls. When the vision ended, Olivia was crying. "Who are they?" she asked, her voice breaking. "Why are they doing this?" Lyra's voice was soft but clear. "Voidborn. They take what we are. Our—" She struggled for the word. "Your biology," Catherine suggested from the doorway. She had been watching the exchange. Lyra nodded. "We are Luminar," the word she had been whispering in her sleep. "We protect balance. They want power." "And the crystals?" Olivia asked. "Memory, history, keys to—" Again, Lyra struggled. "With English. Keys to what?" Catherine pressed. Lyra pointed at her chest, then up at the sky, then down at the ground. "Defenses, old ones. Here too." Catherine and Olivia looked at each other in shock. "Are you saying there are alien defenses on Earth?" Catherine asked. Lyra nodded. "Long ago, my people helped yours, then left." The implications were staggering. Aliens, Lyra's people, had visited Earth in the distant past, had maybe even influenced human development, and they had left behind defensive systems that might now be the planet's only hope against the Voidborn. That night, while Lyra slept, Catherine and Olivia talked in hushed voices. "If what she's showing us is true," Catherine said, "Earth is in danger because of her presence here. We can't give her up," Olivia said firmly. "I'm not suggesting that," Catherine replied, "but we need help. Real help. Military-level help." "Who would believe us?" Olivia asked. "I might know someone," Catherine said after a moment. "Someone who works for a government program that investigates unusual phenomena. Her name is Samantha Reeves. We were friends at university before our careers took different paths. Can we trust her?" "I don't know," Catherine admitted, "but I'm not sure we have a choice anymore." The decision was made for them the next morning. Olivia woke to the sound of Lyra crying out. She ran to the child's room and found her standing by the window, pointing at something in the distance. On the horizon, dark clouds were gathering unnaturally fast. Lightning flashed within them, but it was an odd color, purplish-black rather than white. "Storm not real," Lyra said, her voice trembling. "Ships. Many ships." Catherine checked her equipment. "She's right. Those aren't clouds. There's some kind of cloaking technology, and they're moving this way." "How long do we have?" Olivia asked. "Hours. Maybe less." They packed quickly. Food, water, clothes, and Catherine's most important equipment. As they were loading the truck, a dust cloud appeared on the road leading to the cabin. Vehicles were approaching. "Too late," Catherine said grimly. Olivia pulled Lyra close. "What do we do?" Catherine grabbed a pair of binoculars and looked down the road. After a moment, she lowered them, her expression a mix of relief and worry. "They're government vehicles," she said. "Not alien." "How can you tell?" "Because Samantha is with them." Catherine handed over the binoculars. "I recognize her." Olivia looked through them and saw a convoy of black SUVs approaching. A woman with short blonde hair was standing up through the sunroof of the lead vehicle, scanning the area with binoculars of her own. "I never called her," Catherine said. "They must have been tracking us already." "Or tracking the crystal," Olivia suggested. Lyra clutched Olivia's hand tightly. "Safe?" she asked. "I don't know," Olivia answered honestly. They watched as the vehicles pulled up outside the cabin. Men and women in tactical gear poured out, taking up positions around the perimeter. The blonde woman approached alone, her hands empty of weapons. "Catherine," she called out. "It's been a long time." "Samantha," Catherine replied cautiously. Agent Samantha Reeves looked at Olivia. Then her eyes widened when she saw Lyra. "So it's true," she said. "You have her." "How did you find us?" Catherine demanded. "We've been monitoring unusual energy signatures for months," Samantha explained. "Ever since the crash in Maine. We lost track of you for a while, but recent events made you easy to find." She glanced at the dark clouds on the horizon. "We don't have much time." "What do you want with Lyra?" Olivia asked, still holding the child protectively. "To help her," Samantha said simply. "And hopefully, she can help us." She turned and signaled to her team. One of them brought forward a device that looked like a tablet computer. Samantha held it up. On the screen was an image that made Lyra gasp, a structure shaped like a spiral, apparently underwater. "Do you recognize this?" Samantha asked Lyra directly. Lyra nodded slowly. "Old place. Defense place." Samantha looked at Olivia and Catherine. "We've known about this structure off the coast of Maine for decades. We could never access it or understand its purpose." She turned back to Lyra. "Until now." "How do we know we can trust you?" Olivia asked. "You don't," Samantha admitted. "But those ships up there?" She pointed at the approaching clouds. "They'll be here within the hour, and when they arrive, they won't ask questions. They'll take what they want and destroy the rest. Your choice." Dark clouds were definitely getting closer. Lightning danced within them more frequently now. Olivia looked down at Lyra, who was watching Samantha with those huge, knowing eyes. "What do you think?" she asked the child. "Can we trust her?" Lyra stepped forward and reached out to touch Samantha's hand. The agent flinched but allowed the contact. After a moment, Lyra stepped back. "Truth," she said simply. "Afraid, but truth." "That's good enough for me," Catherine said. Olivia nodded reluctantly. "What's the plan?" "We get to the underwater facility," Samantha said, already moving back toward the vehicles. "Fast, it's our best chance, and maybe the planet's only hope." The convoy of black SUVs raced down the mountain roads, heading east toward the coast of Maine. Olivia sat in the back seat with Lyra, while Catherine rode with Agent Samantha Reeves in the lead vehicle. The crystal, still in its containment box, was secured between them. "How long have you known about aliens?" Olivia asked Samantha. "Longer than the public would believe," Samantha answered, keeping her eyes on the road. "My division has been tracking unusual phenomena for decades. We detected the void-borne ships 3 months ago but lost them when they cloaked themselves in Earth's orbit." "And Lyra's people? The Luminar?" Samantha glanced at the alien child. "We found evidence of their presence on Earth throughout history. Ancient structures like the underwater facility we're heading to, cave paintings showing beings of light, myths in dozens of cultures about shining guardians who came from the stars." "Why didn't they stay?" Catherine asked. "From what we've pieced together, they believed in non-interference once a species reached a certain stage of development. They helped guide early human evolution, then stepped back to let us grow on our own." Lyra, who had been quiet, suddenly spoke. "My people, watchers only. Let all life find own way. The Voidborn don't share that philosophy," Samantha said grimly. Through the windows they could see military jets streaking across the sky. Reports came in over the radio about atmospheric disturbances appearing worldwide. The cover story was breaking down as the Voidborn ships became more visible. "What exactly is at this underwater facility?" Olivia asked. "We don't know for sure," Samantha admitted. "We discovered it in the 1970s while tracking unusual energy readings. It's built into the seafloor about 2 miles off the coast. We've sent divers and submersibles, but no one has ever been able to get inside. The structure seems to recognize human DNA but requires something else. Something we don't have." "The crystal," Catherine guessed. "And Lyra herself," Samantha nodded. "We believe the Luminar built these facilities as a defensive network. If activated, they might be able to protect Earth from the Voidborn. The radio crackled with urgent messages, reports of strange craft being spotted over major cities, power outages, communication systems failing. They're making their move, Samantha said, pressing harder on the accelerator. By late afternoon, they reached a small private harbor where a military vessel was waiting. As they boarded, Olivia could see dark shapes in the sky above the ocean. Voidborn ships no longer bothering to hide. We need to hurry, Samantha said, leading them below deck to a room filled with monitoring equipment and diving gear. The facility is 300 feet down. We have a small submersible that can take us there. Scientists and military personnel worked frantically around them, preparing equipment and monitoring the approaching ships. One screen showed a satellite view of Earth, with dozens of red dots appearing over various locations. Landing sites, Samantha explained. They're putting ground forces on Earth. What do they want? Olivia asked. Resources. Biological samples. New species to study and exploit, Samantha said. The Voidborn are collectors and conquerors. They strip planets of anything useful, then move on. Lyra's skin had grown pale, almost white with fear. She held tightly to Olivia's hand. How do we activate the facility? Catherine asked, examining the schematics on one of the screens. That's where Lyra comes in, Samantha said. We believe only a Luminar can open it. That's why they brought her to Earth. Lyra shook her head. Not just that, she said. Her English was improving rapidly, as if the stress was forcing her to communicate better. I am changing. Changing how? Olivia asked. Instead of answering, Lyra placed her hands on either side of Olivia's face again. This time, the vision was different. Olivia saw Lyra growing, changing form, becoming something more than the childlike being she appeared to be. She saw energy coursing through Lyra's body, rearranging her at the molecular level. You're metamorphosing? Olivia asked when the vision ended. Lyra nodded. Last stage. Becoming true form. She's not actually a child, Catherine realized. Her current form is protective, a chrysalis. The final stage of my kind, Lyra confirmed. Need safe place for change. Earth was closest. The one who brought me knew humans would help. A loud boom shook the boat. Above deck, people were shouting. They've found us, Samantha said, checking the monitors. We need to move now. They quickly donned diving suits while Lyra was given a special transparent helmet filled with a breathable liquid that she seemed comfortable with. The crystal was secured in a waterproof case. The submersible can take 5 of us, Samantha explained as they hurried to the launch bay. Myself, Olivia, Catherine, Lyra, and Dr. Chen, our xenobiologist. Dr. Chen was a quiet woman who had been studying the Luminar language from recordings of Lyra's speech. She nodded to them as they boarded the small craft. Another explosion rocked the boat as they sealed the hatch of the submersible. Through the viewport, they could see energy weapons firing from the sky, striking the water around them. Launch now, Samantha ordered through the radio. The submersible dropped into the ocean with a splash and immediately began to descend. Above them, they could see the dark shapes of Voidborn ships through the water and energy beams cutting through the surface. They can't detect us once we're below 100 feet, Samantha said. Their sensors don't work well in water. The descent was tense but uneventful. As they approached the seafloor, lights from the submersible revealed an enormous structure built into the rock. It was shaped like a spiral shell, made of a material that seemed to shimmer even in the darkness of the deep ocean. There it is, Samantha said with awe in her voice. The Luminar facility. They guided the submersible to what looked like an entrance, a large circular door with intricate patterns carved into it. As they approached, the patterns began to glow faintly. It's reacting to Lyra's presence, Dr. Chen observed. They docked at a small platform next to the door. According to Samantha, the platform had been built by human researchers years ago. Beyond it was an airlock that had never been opened. Until now, Samantha said. They exited the submersible one by one, their diving suits allowing them to move in the crushing pressure of the deep ocean. Lyra moved with surprising grace as if the water was her natural environment. When they reached the circular door, Lyra placed her hand on it. The patterns glowed brighter, and the door began to turn slowly, revealing an airlock beyond. "It recognizes her," Catherine said. They entered the airlock and the outer door sealed behind them. Water drained away, replaced by a breathable atmosphere that their instruments showed was similar to Earth's air, but with slightly more oxygen. When the inner door opened, they gasped. Inside was a vast chamber that seemed impossibly large for the structure they had seen from outside. The walls, floor, and ceiling were made of the same shimmering material, and everything was lit with a soft blue glow. "It's bigger on the inside," Dr. Chen whispered. "Some kind of space-folding technology." They removed their diving gear and helmets. Lyra seemed to breathe the air comfortably. In the center of the chamber was a raised platform with a small pedestal. The pedestal had an indentation that matched the shape of the crystal. "There," Lyra said, pointing. "The key place." As they approached the platform, symbols on the walls began to light up, forming patterns that moved and shifted. Dr. Chen took out a tablet and started recording everything. "These match ancient symbols found in caves around the world," she said excitedly, "and some match the patterns on the crystal." Lyra walked to the pedestal and took the crystal from its case. She held it up, and it began to pulse with light in rhythm with the patterns on the walls. "What happens when you place it there?" Olivia asked. "Wake up," Lyra said simply. "Wake up defenses, but need me too, full me." "Your metamorphosis," Catherine understood. "You need to complete your change to fully activate the system." Lyra nodded. "Dangerous time, weak during change." "How long will it take?" Samantha asked. No, Lyra admitted. "Never done before." The facility suddenly shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. "They're attacking from orbit," Samantha said, checking a device on her wrist. "They must have detected the facility's activation." Another tremor, stronger this time. "We don't have much time," Dr. Chen warned. "If they breach the outer shell, we'll be crushed by the water pressure." Lyra looked at Olivia, her large eyes filled with both fear and determination. "Must try now," she said. "No choice." "I'll stay with you," Olivia promised. "Whatever happens." Lyra smiled for the first time since they had fled the cabin. Then she turned and placed the crystal into the indentation on the pedestal. Immediately, the entire chamber lit up with blinding light. The crystal began to spin, floating slightly above the pedestal. Around it, a field of energy formed, expanding outward until it surrounded Lyra. "It's starting," Catherine said, shielding her eyes. Within the energy field, Lyra's form began to change. Her skin glowed brighter and brighter until they could no longer see her clearly. The light pulsed in waves that spread throughout the facility. On the walls, new symbols appeared, star maps, diagrams, equations that Catherine frantically tried to record with her equipment. "It's the history of the Luminar," Dr. Chen translated, looking at her tablet, "and information about the defensive network." The world changed overnight. News reports showed the shimmering energy shield that now surrounded Earth. Government leaders made careful statements about atmospheric phenomena and international cooperation, but satellite images clearly showed the dark shapes of alien vessels holding position beyond the shield. For Olivia, Catherine, and the others, there was no time to watch how humanity was reacting. They were racing across the Pacific Ocean in a military submarine, heading toward the coordinates Lyra had provided for the central hub of the Luminar Defense Network. Lyra herself had changed in more ways than just her physical form. Her knowledge had expanded along with her transformation. Memories that had been locked away in her chrysalis form were now accessible. She spent hours explaining Luminar history and technology to the human scientists, who recorded everything with wide-eyed wonder. "My people first came to Earth over 50,000 of your years ago," Lyra told them. "We found early humans struggling to survive. We saw potential in your species, creativity, adaptability, compassion, traits the Luminar value. So you helped us evolve?" Dr. Chen asked. Not directly, Lyra clarified. We merely provided favorable conditions, protected you from extinction events, guided you away from self-destruction at key moments. The rest, you achieved on your own. Why did you leave? Olivia asked. It was the question that had been bothering her most. Lyra's expression grew sad, her skin dimming slightly. The Voidborn found us. They had been hunting us across the galaxy for millennia. We left Earth to protect you, to draw their attention away from your world. But you built the defense network before you left, Samantha observed. Yes, a final gift and protection. We hoped you would never need it. The submarine's navigation system indicated they were approaching their destination, a point in the Pacific Ocean far from any land, where the seafloor dropped into one of the deepest trenches on the planet. The Luminar chose this location because of its depth, Lyra explained. The pressure and darkness provide natural protection. They deployed a specialized deep-sea submersible, larger than the one they had used to reach the main facility. This one could carry 10 people and was designed to withstand extreme depths. Lyra, Olivia, Catherine, Samantha, Dr. Chen, and 5 specialists in various fields boarded the craft. The descent took nearly 2 hours. Through the viewport, they watched as the last traces of sunlight disappeared, replaced by the absolute darkness of the deep ocean. The submersible's powerful lights revealed strange deep-sea creatures that scattered at their approach. There, Lyra said suddenly, pointing ahead. At first, Olivia couldn't see anything. Then the lights caught something reflective. As they got closer, she gasped. Rising from the seafloor was a massive structure shaped like a perfect spiral. Unlike the facility in Maine, this one was enormous, easily the size of a small city. The central hub, Lyra said with reverence, the heart of the network. As they approached, the spiral began to glow with blue-green light, pulsing in patterns that matched Lyra's own bioluminescence. A large circular opening appeared in the side of the structure, leading to what looked like an underwater dock. It recognizes me, Lyra said. It's welcoming us home. They guided the submersible into the opening, which led to a massive chamber. As the outer doors closed behind them, water drained away until they were in a dry environment. The air that replaced the water was similar to what they had experienced in the main facility. Earth-like, but with subtle differences that made it feel cleaner, more energizing. When they exited the submersible, they found themselves in an enormous docking bay with dozens of empty berths that might once have held Luminar vessels. The walls, floor, and ceiling were made of the same shimmering material as the main facility, but here it seemed more alive, almost responsive to their presence. Lyra led them through corridors that lit up as they approached. The central chamber they eventually reached took everyone's breath away. It was a perfect sphere hundreds of feet across with a platform suspended in the center. All around the walls were projections of Earth and the surrounding space showing the positions of the Voidborn ships and the energy shield protecting the planet. The control center, Lyra said, walking onto a bridge that extended to the central platform. From here we can communicate with all Luminar facilities on Earth. And beyond. Beyond? Catherine asked. The network extends to other star systems, Lyra explained. Places where the Luminar established outposts or helped developing species, as we did on Earth. On the central platform was a console with what appeared to be handprints embedded in its surface. Lyra placed her hands on them and the entire chamber hummed with energy. The projections around them shifted, zooming out to show not just Earth but the entire solar system, then nearby stars, then a large section of the galaxy. Small points of light appeared scattered across this galactic map. Surviving Luminar outposts, Lyra explained, and possibly surviving Luminar. I thought you were the last, Olivia said. The last in this region of space, Lyra clarified. Others escaped when our homeworld fell. Children like me, sent to different sanctuary worlds with crystals containing our history and genetic legacy. She manipulated the controls and a signal pulsed outward from Earth, spreading across the galactic map. I'm letting them know we've activated the Earth hub, she said, calling for aid. Will they come? Samantha asked. It will take time, Lyra admitted. The closest outpost is 10 light-years away. But now they know Earth is defended. They know at least one Luminar survived. It gives us hope. Another display showed the Voidborn ships regrouping. There were dozens of them now, forming a pattern around Earth's energy shield. They're testing for weaknesses, Samantha observed, her military training evident. Yes, Lyra agreed. The shield will hold for now, but they are persistent, and they have technology specifically designed to counter Luminar defenses. What can we do? Dr. Chen asked. Take the fight to them, Lyra said, her voice firm. The network isn't just defensive. It was built during the height of the war with the Voidborn. It has offensive capabilities. She worked the controls again, and new projections appeared. Schematics for weapon systems built into the Earth's defense network. Some were based in orbit, others deep underwater or underground. All had been dormant for millennia. We can activate these? Samantha asked, clearly impressed by what she was seeing. Yes, Lyra confirmed. But there's a problem. The systems were designed to be controlled by multiple Luminar working together. I am only one. What about humans? Catherine suggested. Could we help control them? Lyra considered this. Perhaps. There is compatibility between our species, more than you might expect. What do you mean? Olivia asked. Instead of answering directly, Lyra brought up a new display, a DNA comparison between Luminar and humans. There were striking similarities in key areas. This isn't coincidence, Dr. Chen realized. You didn't just guide our evolution. You contributed to it, Lyra finished. A small genetic gift to help your species develop certain traits. Empathy, creativity, abstract thinking. Traits that might one day allow humans to join the Luminar in protecting the balance of life in the galaxy. The implications were enormous. Humans and Luminar were distantly related. The connection went beyond guardianship. It was kinship. That's why the adult Luminar brought you to Earth, Olivia understood suddenly. Not just because it was close, but because you might find family here. Lyra nodded, her eyes shining. My guardian knew that humans would recognize something in me, something familiar, that one of you might take me in, protect me during my vulnerable time. And you did. She turned to face them all, her expression solemn. Now I need more from you. I need humans to join with the network to help me activate its full potential. It will require a mental and physical connection that might be intense. I'll do it, Olivia said without hesitation. As will I, Catherine added. Samantha and Dr. Chen exchanged looks, then nodded their agreement as well. We'll need more, Lyra said. At least 12 connections to fully power the offensive systems. The specialists we brought with us, Samantha suggested. That makes 9. We can call for 3 more from the submarine. Within an hour, they had assembled 12 volunteers. Lyra led them to alcoves around the central chamber, where each person stood on a platform similar to the one Lyra had used. Focus your thoughts on protection, Lyra instructed them. On defending life, not just human life, but all life. The network responds to intention as much as to physical control. As they took their positions, Lyra returned to the central platform. I will guide the network, direct its energy. You will help power it and stabilize it. She placed her hands on the console again, and energy began to flow from the central platform to each of the 12 alcoves. Olivia felt a tingling sensation that quickly grew stronger, becoming a current of energy flowing through her body. She wasn't just connected to the network, she could feel the others too, their minds brushing against hers. And at the center of it all was Lyra. Her consciousness expanded far beyond her physical form, reaching out to embrace them all and guide their combined energy. Through Lyra's perception, Olivia could see the entire defense network, thousands of nodes across, the planet all pulsing with power. She felt Lyra's intention form.